Hello there, be welcome to the channel, and today we are here to talk about language learn and those things that I like to talk here. Probably you guys are seeing I put a new light here. Maybe it's too bright, but I think that my the video may be better now. So in today's video, I just want to reflect about something that I was thinking today in the language learning process, right? As I said to you guys, I have a lot of challenges trying to follow a strict routine, and I'm simply not following my C2 study plan as I planned it. I'm not studying grammar daily. I'm not practicing my speaking daily, and I'm not I'm not simply doing it. I'm not practicing writing daily either. I'm not practicing reading daily. However, I think that I I truly think that I practicing every single day, probably since the year started, is listen. And I mean, not practicing properly. I'm not daily actively listen to some content. No, I'm not doing that. But I always try to have some contact with the language by the listening. When you reach some degree of fluency and proficiency in the language, it becomes so much more easier to you just consume content, because you are consumed. When you reach some level, you can start consume contents that you like, instead of contents designed only to the language learning process. So when you are A1 or A2 in some language, probably you will not find a content that you like it, that you can understand it, that brings to you some news, so like something um, properly enjoyable. It just is completely unlikely, because uh, when you are in this level, you are in a very basic level in the language. You are not able to truly understand the language in a degree that I can explain to you something in the language, or I can, I don't know, record something about two people chatting, and you can understand me. You just can't. If you are A1, you just can't. When you start to become A2, the things start to become more enjoyable. Normally, you will have more access to some contents that you like it, and more as you progress. When you reach like the B1, you already started to have a lot of videos. At least my experience, when I reached B1, I think um, I could pretty well consume video using subtitle almost every single time, but I could start, at least start to consume content that I really enjoy in English, just by the content itself, and not focusing on the language more than the content. And after you pass through the plateau, the intermediary plateau, I really should have improved my pronunciation of intermediate. I can't pronounce this word, bro. It's such a simple word. Whatever. Um, After you reach I've heard after you pass the plateau and you reach the B2 level, um, you start to truly enjoy the content, by the content in the language that you are learning. So when you reach B2, like a solid B2, you just can consume the content by itself, you know. Probably sometimes you need a help, pause, go back, rewatch some tiny detail that you didn't get it, or using subtitles for some specific content, or search for words, but in general, you just can't consume the language naturally. And that's what I'm doing, right? I'm right now, I think that I'm around B2. Probably my listen is slightly above B2. I would say that my listen is um, C1, probably, because I can understand easily what I'm listening to it, and I'm just started to consume the content by the content, you know, the content by itself. And today I'm not searching for a video in English to train my language. I'm just watching the videos in English. Is English is everywhere, you know. I have this account here for just English, uh, just English content consumption. I have other accounts too when I want to watch specifically some video in Portuguese, or even I have accounts for the language that I will learn before actually later already. Uh, so when you reach this level, you just start to consume the videos and the content because you want to enjoy the content, you know. You could obviously keep on consuming, focusing on the language, but you start to have a huge um a huge amount of content that you can consume just by the content itself, and just because you enjoy it. That contents that are normally made to native English speakers, and you know, it's such a good experience when you can watch a video in English made for English native speakers and you can understand it. In my case, that I'm learning English a lot, right? So in this stage, you start to consume in this way. That's what I'm doing. I'm not using the listen, as probably would be more efficient, more optimal if, you know, I stop and trying to understand what the person says, and try to understand the grammatical construction behind what the person trying to mean, and try to understand the accent, how they pronounce words, and every tiny detail. This is an active listening, and it's very very helpful. Don't get me wrong, it's very helpful, but I'm not doing it because I'm not following a strict routine at all. Yeah, and I have like problems following some strict routines in general. So what I'm doing instead is just consume content, enjoying the content, you know. I know that sometimes I'm not learning too much, and I'm not gonna lie, and I will not sit here and say, "Oh, you know what, guys? I learning a lot. My English is becoming a lot better, just because I'm consuming content in the YouTube." But isn't the truth? Probably my English is getting a little better because I'm consuming content more and more, and it will become with time a more natural thing. and yet my English is becoming better. I'm sure of it because I'm still consuming content, and I'm not doing just this. I'm studying grammar, not often, but I'm studying it. I'm reading a lot recently, not too much, but like in the start of the month, I read a lot. I read an entire book, as I said, uh, and I'm not just doing the listen type of thing. Oh, a mosquito, get out here. I'm not just doing it, but I couldn't say that this is the thing that is rocking up my English, but it's helping. Today I understood a grammatical aspect of the language because I have listened to it and I searched up in the ChatGPT. As you know, ChatGPT, I listened this guy saying this thing, and I went to you to explain to me, and he of course said, "Oh, uh, all right," and give me the explanation. So it's important to not become static and just be in your comfort zone, because in this way you will never improve. That's the truth. You know, if you just watch content that you are comfortable with and that is not challenger enough, you will just become still in that level forever. One thing that I recognize that is being helpful for my listen is that I'm trying to um, modify and diversify the things that I'm consuming. I really like to consume language learn videos, and I watched a bunch of them recently, and I'm still watching a lot of channels that talk about language learn. Um, Lately, though, I'm starting to have some interest for the modern received pronunciation more specifically, but in general, the British pronunciation of English. And I started to look up some channels that are talking about it. And that's helping me to change a bit from language learn in general to some more specific things. It's helping me. And I also started to watch MasterChef, which is a very funny thing to say, but I like cook sometimes, and uh, watch MasterChef help me with it, like with my hobby. And besides that, it's just a great show that I'm enjoying to watch. So I go there and take my phone, search up in the YouTube, and watch a bunch of content in that specific topic. I would say that normally I will spend 3 to 4 hours just consume content in YouTube. That's not that intentionally, because I'm just doing it because I'm procrastinating on other things, but it still works. I'm still having some consumption of content, and I just finished the first MasterChef season. I'm watching the U.S. MasterChef with Gordon Ramsay. He's a pretty nice guy, and I mean he's very funny. I think that his humor is very hilarious, and like when he makes jokes, I don't know. Maybe my humor is broken, but I think that is very funny. But getting back what I'm saying, I'm watching some content in this way, and it's diverse. You know, I try to change a bit my topics and my interests to it. So in that way, I could learn a lot of vocabulary, a lot of grammatical structures, understand a bunch of accents through listening. Listen shouldn't be. I think that listen shouldn't be the main activity in my level right now. Probably I should be more worried about start to produce things speaking more, writing more, use more the language. In that way, I could be more used to the language, you know, obviously. But uh, language, uh, actually, the input and the listening, more specifically, plays a very special role uh, in this topic. You know, listen a lot will help you. You know, the input help you. You see, there is a channel here in the YouTube. You probably know it. Uh, it's Evil Dia channel, and I was listening to him recently, watching one of his videos, and he just said something that really makes sense to me. He was speaking about how the language learn are divided into main uh, three main parts. You know, actually, he was saying about the learning in general, not to the specific language learn, but everything that you learn, you follow these three structures. First, there is the uh, theory. Second, there is the I like to say he said um, input. Let's put it this way: input, and let last, there is the use of that skill that you learn. And yeah, for here in our in the language learn context, we could say that there is input like reading and listen. There is also the theory, which is grammar, you know, and those things, probably how to pronounce, like, oh, you should make the th sound this way, you know, for example. That's part of the theory of the language. And there is the practice speaking, I'm as I'm doing now with you, and writing, for example. So there is this three main parts. And he was saying, if you want to be really effective, bro, really effective, bro, I can't say this word, um, efficiency, yeah. If you want to be really efficient, you, it sounds strange, never mind, but you got it what I'm trying to mean. But if you really wanna be this way, uh, and you wanna your language learn in an optimal way, you should focus on those three things in some degree, obviously. Um, and it makes a lot of sense. You know, language learn is not just about input. Is not just about theory, and also is not just about practice. And the all the methods out there will be approaching language learn in different ways, but what they agree or disagree with it is in those three, is in those three uh, main parts, if that makes sense. So, for example, the ALG method, or the comprehensive input, will say that you should have in your early stage of the language just input and not formal theory at all. And also, you should not speak, and you should stay quiet and silent to the start of your language learn process. Meanwhile, there is another method which say, oh, we should try to study the theory behind it, like study the grammar, study how to pronounce the sounds before going properly to the input and to study the language. There is those methods. Uh, there is some and I think more crazy methods that say, oh, just try to speak it, the language every single day, and sometimes with a partner and that already speak the language, and you just try to speak, and somehow you get it, the language. Makes, I mean, somehow when you if you have a partner to train with, or if you are talking with someone that already know the language, inevitably you will also have input, and if he or her or she are explaining to you, you have theory also, but those details doesn't matter too much. What Ivodia was saying is that if you wanna go just to one of these three main structures in the language, in the learn process, you couldn't. If you wanna, if you really wanna, you just want, you are able to just learn the language through speaking. If you really want to, you are able to learn the language just through grammar, and the comprehensible input is the more the best example that I could give of a method that says to you, oh, you know, just study, just consume the language. Don't worry with study at all. So, if we deal by saying any of these three main structures, you could follow it through and learn the language. But if you wanna be really efficient, you should pick one. Actually, you should use the three to build a balanced and properly language learn routine. It makes a lot of sense to me. If you wanna really learn the language, first, obviously, know know the theory behind input and try to practice. If you have the right balance between those three, you will have a great um, learn routine for language or for anything else. So I have a lot. I'm having a lot of input in the in with the English, and I think that it may be helping me a bit with my skills. However, I don't know if it's the optimal. Actually, I know that isn't the optimal way to approach the language. And I truly hope that I commit myself more to learn the language better. Another thing that I just want to mention to you guys is that I'm studying math through um, English books. So when I study math, I'm having this contact with English, and I'm writing in English. So that's not properly language study because I'm studying math, but somehow I'm studying English in the same time, or at least I'm using English to reading it and to write down my thoughts. And when I solve a problem in English, I thinking in English, I'm writing down in English, I'm writing with words in English. So this this is this is also a way that I'm using to improve in the language. Today, for talking for today, I just watched a bunch of episodes of MasterChef. Uh, I listened to some musics. I watched some videos on the YouTube, and that's it. That's all. And I'm making this video also, but that was all my contact with English today, I think. And it's quite late now. It's let me see. It's almost midnight, so I probably will not have more contact with English, but it's still. I think that my pronunciation is getting a little better uh, in my thanks to my exposition, my natural exposition, and also think that I'm consolidating some vocabulary through this exposition. So I'm not quite like true completely satisfied just being doing that, because I want also to study the theory behind the language to improve more. But I'm really satisfied with the level that I'm achieving in my language learn routine, though I'm not following a proper routine and I just consume content. But I'm really satisfied with I'm achieving, and I hope to keep getting better, actually, and to become a more proficiency uh, speaker and writer and user of English. That's all for today. See you guys soon. Bye.